Now today's proverb might be a little bit lengthy because it is quite obvious, and something this obvious has a lot of different ways that it actually can be applied, and that is the enemy's vital point or the enemy's key point is probably also your own. Let's take a really obvious example here. Let's say we have something along the lines of this, along the sides. There we go. Let's just go and do this. And bam. Now if we were to surround these with some stones, usually if we were doing a go problem, we surround it a little bit better than what we're doing right now, but whatever. There we go. We surrounded it so it can't escape, theoretically. Now the key point in that shape is what? Assuming that you don't want to die. You would play here, and if it was white's turn, then the vital point is going to be there. So right away in Life and Death we see a real applicable shape for this. Like, if your opponent can't live, if you get to play, it's pretty big for both players, right? That is the vital point in that shape. Whoever gets it first gets to live or die. That's the first really obvious way that you can apply that particular proverb, which is why we're not going to spend a lot of time on that particular aspect of the proverb. We are going to go somewhere a bit more relevant to many of your games, and for that we are of course going to bring out another game of our own. Let's just go with 4-3-4? Yeah, let's go with 4-4 and 3-4 stones here today. Let's say we're going to go ahead and approach our opponent like so. We decide to back off. Our opponent decides to slide on into the corner. We respond to him even though we really shouldn't. We should probably be playing open to the corner. But okay, fine, whatever. We responded to him. And then our opponent just like runs off and does something else. So what do we do here? Well, according to the proverb, the vital point of our opponents is also our own. So the question is, well, where's the vital point here? And in this case, you can apply the proverb to Jiseki that has not been finished. Like, black should be extending here, or maybe up here. You know, one of those. Black did not do such thing. Black played over here, so we could go and apply lots of pressure onto our opponent and take the vital point away from him. This makes this group not at all happy with its life right now. I mean, it can live, and I'm sure you all know because you study Go just as much as I do. You all know that you can just attach to here and you're probably going to be fine, right? You know that. You know that. You know that. So, I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to do what? Go into the corner? Defend yourself? Well, if you do that, then you can see that you're giving... I can grab the stone. You're giving this kind of shape to your opponent in Sente, so can go and grab a little bit of a shape here for himself. Not picking up points, but you are picking up shape as not to get killed. Took off entirely too many stones. Doot. And lastly, doot. So what do we do instead? I mean, you know that you can, play here, and then we're facing almost the same thing with this, right? Where if we play here, now there's this. So we have to be really careful on how we respond, because it's really easy for white to just or for black, sorry, to kind of just trick you into giving up shape just all over the place many different ways. So you know that this group is probably going to live as long as there's nothing on the outside sealing it in. As long as there's nothing like that, yeah, this is probably going to live. But the point is, you have an attack going. The point is, it's not going to make territory. The point is, it's going to be running for a while, and while that's doing it, you can, profit. So knowing that vital point is very important. However, just as both of those are very important, actually, let's do that one more time. Let's take something like 4-4 again, sure, why not? Let's take something else there, because that whole not continuing the Joseki thing and playing away and trying to figure out where to play next, knowing where the vital point is always really, really important to that. So let's do something a little bit old school here, shall we? We don't usually see this enclosure very often. But okay. Enclose, block the extend. That in and of itself, by the way, is also the proverb, because our vital point for our opponent now, bam, wants to take that large extension for his enclosure. So because we recognize that that's really, really important for our opponent, we're going to be like, no, you can't take that, bam, grabbing it for ourselves. And again, it's that stupid proverb, right? Because what does white want to do now? White wants to play here. Why does white want to play there? Because we now have an extension to go with the enclosure, right? We can make that enclosure, make that really, really amazing. So the vital point is now here, so typically we're going to take that away from our opponent. So right away, because of this, we've got proverb. But let's go and break this proverb a little bit. Someone wasn't doing their homework. Someone was a greedy little monkey. And he just wanted to take all the things on the field. He's just going to be a greedy little guy. Look how greedy this guy's going to be. Black protects very, very strong here. So there's like no Aji. I mean, you can extend wherever, but let's just say protected nice and strong. And our greedy little monkey decides to build up over here and give Sente to our opponent again. There we go. So, at first glance, you know, a newer player might say, ooh, okay, yeah, I mean, white's got not knocking the stones off the board. That would be a good thing for you not to do. You might say, okay, you know, white's got this area, white's got this area, black only has this and this. Clearly, white's ahead. But that's because he was a greedy little monkey and he was not protecting his shape point. He wasn't protecting his vital point. He decided to play away rather than, you know, play something like this or even something a little bit greedier for himself and to try and actually keep those points for himself. So where could you play? You can take that vital point for yourself because your opponent decided to play elsewhere. You can do it high, you can do it low, but there's really not a lot your opponent can say to this other than, okay, I guess you just get to live in here now, because what can I possibly do? I mean, this is out, right? We're gone. We can play leading attack and just escape right now. Technically can probably play here as well, but I think this is slightly superior. But yeah, we're gone. We're gone, we out. This wasn't territory. Now, if white's lucky, then he's looking at, let's just fill in these stones real quick. Just screw what's going on over here. He's looking at, if he's lucky, something like this or this, depending on how endgame goes. Something like that. If he's really, really unlucky, something like this, depending on how endgame goes. It's not a lot of territory. Not a lot of territory compared to what we could have seen if we weren't a greedy little monkey and, you know, protected our shape point, took it directly, something like that. Now we've got some fourth line and room to grow on. So that vital point came back in to really, really irritate us. But let's do one more problem to really see the vital point issue. One more problem. This game, we're going to change things up a little bit, and I think we're going to do a diagonal game like so. So in this game that you see before you, we have a fairly well-developed game in progress here. We see white taking territory top and bottom of the board. We see black taking some development left and right of the board. Pretty straightforward. Now it is in fact white's move, black's last move was here, and now the question of vital points comes up yet again. And if you have a very astute eye, you could see that one thing that black would love to do is kind of lean here to sort of expand this area, make it a nice neat little box for himself. And also one thing that white would like to do is kind of build this a little bit, but we don't want to do it small. We can take black's vital point away from him in the growing of this framework. We start growing ourselves, start reducing him. Now, in this particular game, we note that because this is capped, there's invasion potential here if black plays elsewhere. So, black defends, and now we have the exact same problem all over again. If we play elsewhere, as white right now, let's say corner is really, really huge. Don't ever play there. Let's say the corner is really, really huge. Then black's going to keep trying to grow his area by leaning and kind of pressing down on what we tried to grow. Right? Even simply jumping here is pretty nice because it kind of finishes off this territory on the side. Meanwhile, if white takes this position, then once again white's threatening to kind of keep poking on into the area that black was trying to get, but it's also developing this area that he was also trying to develop. So once again we saw an interesting position here where we see vital points responded to twice in a row. Well, we'll get a little bit more than that. I mean, we did have the enclosure beginning of the game, and the vital point taken away by white, so it occurred a few more times this game. But here in this position, we see the vital points for both sides. We're going to take it for ourselves, over and over again. Person who omits that gets extremely hurt, or the person who omits that lets their opponent, let's just keep it simple, grow extremely quickly, time and time again. So that is a nice little lesson on this example of that lovely little proverb where your opponent's vital point is likely your own. Your opponent's largest move is also your own. That kind of deal. So keep in mind, everyone, go as a two-player game. What your opponent's trying to do, you might have some interest in that as well. So that wraps up today's Proverbs, my 25 days of Go. Hope you've been enjoying the series so far, and I will of course see you tomorrow for another video. Happy holidays everyone, and take care.